Number 7. Jasmine Arlene Rojas and Cassandra Alexis Garza Rangel. A pair of women from Texas threatened to kidnap and kill a man after getting frisky with him in the backseat of his car in a parking lot in September 2022. On September 14th, officers responded to a 911 call about a person at a Family Dollar store with a gun. The caller claimed that there were 2 females that were trying to kill him, and he said that one of them had a handgun while the other had a knife. When they arrived at the location of the crime, they saw a man running near the road. He quickly identified himself to be the one who made the 911 call, and the 2 suspects were discovered nearby in the parking lot. The 2 women, 23-year-old Jasmine Arlene Rojas and 17-year-old Cassandra Alexis Garza Rangel, were taken into custody and for questioning. Each of them gave different explanations for what happened, but police didn't buy either versions of the story. The man told officers that earlier that day, he picked up Cassandra from a residence in the 500 block of Massa Street. The 2 of them drove to an abandoned house and got it on. Then afterwards, he dropped the woman back off at the home he picked her up from. Later that same day, Cassandra called him and asked him to take her and her cousin Jasmine to an H-E-B grocery store that was nearby. However, on the way to the store, the man reportedly heard Jasmine setting up what he thought was some kind of drug deal. When she hung up the phone call, they changed their mind and asked to be taken to the Family Dollar instead. When they arrived at their destination, he said that he parked the vehicle in the empty dark parking lot, and then Cassandra and Jasmine asked him to join them in the back seat. This is when they all allegedly got frisky. Jasmine apparently asked to blindfold the man with her red top, but he told her that he didn't want to do that. When he told the girls he no longer wanted to fool around, Jasmine tried to stab him with a knife. Then, when he tried to exit the car, Cassandra grabbed him by the shirt. The man continued his version of the story by saying that after they stopped him from leaving, they told him he was being kidnapped and they were going to kill him. He claimed that he barely made it out alive and had managed to get out of the car just as Jasmine got Cassandra to retrieve a gun from her purse. However, the women claimed the events leading up to the crime were very different. Jasmine claimed that the man had given them a ride to the Family Dollar, but then sexually assaulted both of them. Cassandra stated that she and her cousin were walking down the road when the man pulled up and offered them a ride. When they arrived at the store, she said he pulled out a condom, which made the girls scared that he was going to assault them, and that's why they were getting their gun. The different accounts as to what happened when questioned by police led investigators to believe they were lying. The victim's name wasn't reported in this case, but officers also found the man's identification and wallet in Cassandra's possession, which only seemed to prove their theory that the women were at fault in this situation. In the end, Jasmine Arlene Rojas and Cassandra Alexis Garza Rangel were both charged with 1 count of aggravated robbery. Number 6. Yasmin Haider and Crystal Pinkens. Adam Simji and his girlfriend Michaela Paulus were taking a drive along an Alabama forest road in August of 2022 when they were tricked and attacked by women posing as damsels in distress. Simji and Paulus were students attending the University of Central Florida and had decided to take one last road trip together before the start of their fall semester. As they drove through the Talladega National Forest Road, they pulled over to help a woman claiming to be a stranded motorist and the woman's friend who was nearby. However, as they exited their vehicle to assist her, the woman, Yasmin Haider, pulled out a gun to rob them. She then ordered the couple to go into the woods while her friend, Crystal Pinkens, watched from a distance. But Haider failed to notice the concealed pistol Simji was carrying, and he attempted to fight back against the women. He shot at Haider, who also returned his fire, but Pinkens fled into the woods. Simji sadly passed away from his injuries as his girlfriend desperately performed CPR. Before Simji died, though, he managed to shoot Haider as well, but she survived the gunshot. Paulus called the police, and when they arrived, Haider was arrested. Officers searched the woods for Pinkens and came across an empty camp of people living in the woods. As they walked up to the camp, Pinkens' 5-year-old son approached the officers with a loaded shotgun. The young boy was immediately disarmed, and Pinkens was arrested as well for the incident. Both women were charged with robbery, kidnapping, and murder, and Pinkens was given an extra charge for child endangerment. At the moment, they are still waiting for sentencing regarding their crimes. Number 5. Elizabeth Lab and Kimberly Ann. In 2021, police in Miami Beach, Florida arrested two women who apparently robbed a tourist, making off with thousands of dollars. The suspects were identified as 19-year-old Elizabeth Lab and 20-year-old Kimberly Ann LeBron Martinez. According to police reports, the duo met the tourist from Texas that day and asked him to have a drink with them. He initially didn't want to drink, but he continued to hang out with the women. The three of them went to Sonny's Bar and Restaurant until closing, and then he was convinced by the women to go to Collins Park after they picked up some more alcohol at a gas station. The arrest report stated that while the group was at the park, the victim was handed a beverage. When he began to drink it, he immediately felt as if he had been drugged and soon after lost consciousness. The man was then robbed of his $10,000 Omega watch, debit and credit cards, his white Yeezy sneakers, and a gold chain. It didn't take the women long before they began making purchases with the man's stolen cards, and over the next 16 hours they spent $15,000 of the victim's money. Luckily, their car was spotted a few days later and they were apprehended by police. When LeBron Martinez was questioned by detectives, she reportedly admitted to spiking the man's drink with a mixture of crushed Xanax and water. Lab and LeBron Martinez are now facing charges of grand theft, robbery, unlawful possession of a stolen credit card, and fraudulent use of identification. However, it's unclear whether the women received jail sentences for their crimes. Number 4. Mandy Mary Ragaba and Brandy Marie Duxbury. In August of 2022, two women were arrested in Ocean City, New Jersey for indecent exposure after they were seen trespassing and swimming naked in a private pool. 40-year-old Mandy Mary Ragaba from Liverpool, New York, and 37-year-old Brandy Marie Duxbury from East Greenbush were identified as the suspects. The incident took place on August 24th at around 4 a.m. near the city street of Robin Drive. When they arrived at the scene, officers found both women to be intoxicated, and Duxbury was apparently completely naked. The girls were laughing and yelling at each other. When they showed up, Ragaba was standing near the chained and locked gate entrance outside the pool area, while Duxbury was inside already. When police asked her how she had gained access to the private pool, Duxbury claimed she had hopped over the fence. The officers attempted to open the gate, which caused Duxbury to jump into the pool to avoid arrest. When they ordered her to get out of the water, she initially refused, but eventually she did as she was told. As she came out of the pool, her naked body was covered with a poncho. As police escorted Duxbury out of the gated area, Ragaba continued to scream and yell, which resulted in her being arrested as well. At first, the women gave fake names as they were being questioned, but the truth came out after a while. Apparently, as officers were interrogating the girls on the sidewalk, Ragaba laid on her back and exposed her private parts, possibly trying to seduce them into letting her go. It didn't work. Mandy Mary Ragaba and Brandy Marie Duxbury were consequently charged with disorderly conduct, indecent exposure, trespassing on private property, and hindering and obstructing an investigation. They were scheduled to appear in court on September 26th, but it remains unclear as to what their sentencing was. Number 3. Jamaica McDowell and Roshana Poole. A pair of women from Tampa Bay, Florida, faced charges of impersonating a law enforcement officer in 2021 after they stopped a car and pretended to be a member of the Sarasota Police Department. On January 24th, officers responded to 31st Street regarding a suspicious incident. The caller had reported what they believed to be another officer in distress. As they were searching the area, they discovered a civilian car attempting to pull over another vehicle. According to police reports, the woman's car had blue and red lights in the windshield as well as a siren. They then confronted the women and arrested them, taking them to the Sarasota County Jail. The suspects were later identified as 28-year-old Jamaica McDowell and 39-year-old Roshana Poole, who had allegedly done this on multiple occasions. It was found out after the fact that they had been live streaming their crimes on Facebook. In the videos they recorded of themselves, they posed as law enforcement officers and then made derogatory and threatening statements to the passengers and driver of the car they had stopped. McDowell and Poole can be heard in their live stream saying things like, "Driver, exit the vehicle. Do not make a move. Anybody move and I will shoot." And Black lives don't matter. While making a statement to the public, Chief Bernadette DePino explained that the suspects were putting fear into their innocent victims and residents of the community. He also urged people to report anyone that they feel could be someone impersonating an officer of the law. For their disruptive and childish crimes, Jamaica McDowell and Roshana Poole were both charged with false imprisonment, impersonating a law enforcement officer, as well as several other unrelated charges. Number 2. Lindsay Arnold and Krista Garcia. In January of 2022, a pair of women were arrested at their Lemon Valley, Nevada residence after police deputies found 2 children living in absolutely appalling conditions. A welfare check was being conducted by the Washoe County Sheriff's Office that morning at their house, which is when they made their shocking discovery. Officers found 29-year-old Lindsay Arnold and 46-year-old Krista Garcia, Arnold's friend, inside the home. While doing a search of the place, police discovered that there were just under 3 dozen dogs living there, as well as Arnold's 2 children, both under the age of 10. The family only lived in 2 of the 3 bedrooms in the sublet basement, which was around 900 square feet, 84 square meters. Officers found the 2 kids living in one of the small bedrooms, which was also occupied by 18 dogs. Garcia and Arnold shared the second bedroom with another reported 15 dogs. The last bedroom in the basement belonged to an uninvolved third party who also owned a dog of their own, bringing the total to 34 canines living under the same roof. The young children had been forced to sleep on one deflated air mattress covered in dog feces. The rest of the basement was in disarray, with the floor completely covered in trash, clothing, and more animal feces. Thankfully, the kids were removed from the residence and placed with more well-equipped relatives, and Garcia and Arnold were arrested that same day. Lindsay Arnold was charged with 2 felony counts of child abuse and endangerment or neglect, as Krista Garcia was charged with neglect or endangerment, as well as 2 gross misdemeanor counts of child abuse. It's unknown whether either of the women were charged with animal abuse, but it seems like they should be. The details regarding their sentencing is unclear at this time. Number 1. Candace, Brito, and Vanessa Zavala. In Santa Ana, California, 2 women have been arrested for the fatal beating of 23-year-old Kim Pham, which took place on January 19, 2014, outside of a nightclub. The culprits of the horrific crime were 27-year-old Candace Brito and 26-year-old Vanessa Zavala. On the night of the incident, Pham and some of her friends were taking a photo together outside the club and bar, formerly known as the Crosby. When Brito and Zavala's acquaintance, only identified as Amelia, actually bumped into Pham, it sparked a verbal altercation between the 2 groups. However, the defendants took things too far and began to physically fight Pham, knocking her to the ground. As she laid on the floor, Brito and Zavala began kicking her repeatedly in the head. Pham sustained severe brain damage from the attack and passed away 2 days later in the hospital. The women responsible for the crime were later convicted in July with charges of assault and manslaughter. At their trial, Pham's distraught family pleaded with the jury and the judge to give them the maximum sentence of 11 years behind bars. However, during their official sentencing, they were each only given 6 years in prison. At least they seemed remorseful for what they had done, and both Brito and Zavala apologized profusely for their actions. This case was back in 2014, so both women are free today and have hopefully learned their lesson regarding acts of senseless violence. Would you rather get robbed while trying to help someone on the side of the road with car troubles but not get injured, or get pulled over by a fake cop live streaming the whole thing and being humiliated online? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye!